Dice Company contains fantasy violence, mature themes, and unapologetic bickering. No feelings were hurt in the making of it, but listener discretion is advised. Dice Company will always be free, but it's not free to make. Please consider supporting us on Patreon or Apple Podcasts and get access to our weekly roundtable show Extra Roll. Just follow any of the links in the show notes for this chapter.
Following the recognisable voice around the corner, you see, stood before you, a 5'10" lithe individual in impressive armour, holding a beautiful custom blade. The left side of his body looks charred and damaged, however, but he moves with elegance. You can tell this man is a confident and supremely talented fighter. Behind him is a younger, shorter figure, and he's dragging a large sack filled to the brim with something, which he drags along the floor. Aha! We are not alone. You see, Ziggy? I knew there would be other adventurers with talent to get this far, and oh my. Do my eyes deceive me? Is that Bardol Schultz?
Alistair Lebec. What are you doing here, you cheap imitation?
There is no need for such rudeness, is there, my friend?
I jest merely. Happy to see a familiar face in this terrible place. How are you?
I am well. I have been exploring this library. You know, they say that no one who has ever entered the library has escaped from it.
Well, until now. Till the great Bardol Schultz comes striding out of that front door with his amigos. You look like you've struggled while in here, dear boy. Little crispy around the edges?
It is treacherous in there. We reached a corridor with gargoyles on both sides. It's a corridor of death. No man can pass it.
No mortal man. No simple man.
Augustus nudges Vander in the ribs and goes, Vander, I know that voice from somewhere. Do you recognise it? We must have met this man, but I don't recognise his face.
Yes, the voice does seem somewhat familiar.
Vander considers.
I feel a strange urge to withdraw and not bother him any further.
There is a certain command, yes. But where does it come from? Where have we met this strange, charred individual before?
Bardol, remembering himself, turns to the chaps and says, terribly sorry, gentlemen, I forgot my manners. This is Alistair Lebec, a mid-range pit fighter from back in the day.
I am the greatest fighter the world has ever seen. I am the Sword of the Dawn. And he does a flourish with his sword.
And fellow person with a name to do with swords, how delightful.
Vander takes a small step forward.
Forgive me, stranger, but you look somewhat worse for wear, if you don't mind my saying. How did you come across these injuries, and are you looking for a way out or a further way in?
I'm not in the business of giving advantage to my opposition. And he eyes Bardol for a moment. But I will say that the Rojan were careful to protect their most valuable treasures, and I suspect there is someone else beyond the corridor of death who has laid his own traps.
Indeed. Your voice, though, still strikes me as familiar.
Vander's one eye roves to the top of his head as he accesses any memories of the voice. His gnarled fingers suddenly click, and Vander looks back at the stranger.
Were you aboard the steam runner some months ago now?
Of course I was. It wasn't like they were going to launch some new technology and not invite Alistair Lebec, the Sword of the Dawn.
Yes, and I seem to remember you telling me to go away.
I have no memory of that, but if you are staff, that would make sense. I assume you are in the employ of Bardol Schultz, a butler of some kind?
A butler,
says Vander, looking askance.
Well, there's no need to go into the exact details of our arrangements, but I can say that I am in fact an admiral.
Augustus puffs out his chest and just says to the ceiling, I have many butlers.
Oh.
Yes, and Augustus here has many butlers. What is your point?
No point, I have a butler of my own. And he moves aside and he kind of looks up. This is Ziggy.
What? A pleasure to meet you, Ziggy.
Vander assesses Ziggy. I take it I'm looking at someone with absolutely no fighting skills here. He feels like he's a kind of dungeon caddie.
He looks to be 14, 15 years old. He's got half a moustache, hasn't quite fully come through yet. His arms are like 2 wet noodles.
You are a most imposing figure and at least fairly brave to be down here in such a place as this.
I'm trying to learn from Alistair Lebec, the Sword of the Dawn.
And how is that going?
Vander says, eyeing the burns on Lebec.
It has been very good. I have learnt many things from his most gracious prince. We have managed to loot quite a lot from this library of the Rojan too.
Loot, says Vander, interested.
Yes, that is loot. It is none of your business what it is. It is ours. We found it. Scavengers' rights.
Tough words from someone who I suspect is the second most talented pit fighter in the room.
I'm not a pit fighter, I'm a duelist, and I'm second to no man!
Of course, yes. I suspect, though, you have some affiliation to my friend, Bardol.
And Vander's hand stretches in the direction of Bardol.
Have you ever met in combat before, or is your little rivalry more a war of words?
We were meant to fight in the Silver Sword tournament, but I was ill that day.
How terribly convenient.
Clearly the fights were scheduled for the afternoon.
It is not good to fight with an upset stomach. So I withdrew from the competition and Bardol obviously won it. He is common, but a talented fighter in his own right.
He had the runs, Vander.
It was not the runs, it was just a tricky stomach, that is all.
Well, something carried you away rather fast, young man. I figured you were running. I think you have a yellow streak larger than a herd of running diuretic camels, but there we are.
If I looked as exhausted as you, Bardol Schultz, I wouldn't be running my mouth.
This is lovely and everything, and we've established that there are some wonderful fighters here, and many of us have got butlers.
Quite right.
And it's been a real treat to witness, but are we going to get on and do anything, or are we going to stand and chat?
Jenny's looking cross about the camel remark. Her new friend Bardol was she doesn't fully understand it, but she feels like she was just the butt of a camel-related joke, and she does not take this lightly.
Reassured Jenny that she was not Bardol absentmindedly raises his hand up and begins stroking her gorgeous yellow neck.
Jenny instantly changes her opinion and nuzzles into Bardol.
A most refreshing interjection, Bennie, and again a nice slice of realism, which you can always be trusted to provide.
You're very welcome.
Let me quickly settle the argument by explaining that I am in fact the greatest sword fighter in the room. Though I admit I am of course past my prime. Now, with that little full stop, I suggest we turn to Bennie's concern. What to do now?
Well, I know what I am doing. I am leaving the library. Come, Ziggy, it is time to return with what we found. Alistair Lebec, the first man to enter the library and return alive.
Bardol attacks him immediately.
Oh, shit!
He will not take my laurels, I'm afraid. Bardol will not have this pretender. Lebec, we cannot let loot leave.
Welcome one and all to Dice Company Small Embers Chapter 52, where a group of friends weave tales of triumph, heroism and despair under the guise of playing Dungeons and Dragons. My name is Tom, and I'll be your DM through the continuing adventures of the Order of the Heron and its dungeon-delving dynamos. Dungeon-delving dynamos, please introduce yourselves and tell us one fun fact about your characters.
Hi, my name's Scott, and I play Bardol Schultz. Bardol's fact this week is he's very excited to have his new duster coat. It may have felt random to some of the drunken fools in the inn, but Bardol was attracted to the coat because many of the memories that he's received through his alternate selves in the multiverse often contain himself wearing a long brown leather duster. Knowing that he is now enrobed himself in said coat, he feels ever closer to all the different incarnations of himself and one more step on the road to his chosen path.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I'm playing Augustus. And Augustus is experiencing two conflicting thoughts. Firstly, he's thinking he needs to become a better defender. He's thinking the people around him have been dropping like flies, and in particular, he blames himself for the death of Kalen. But also, he thinks he needs to have more fun. He thinks he'll be more effective if he takes things a bit less seriously. And he's thinking of the way Vander approached the Tomb of the Wanderer in character as Idaho James. So, while defending the people around him, Augustus plans to have fun in this dungeon. He is in fact going to turn this dungeon into a fungin.
A fun dungeon. I love it.
I stole that joke from Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, I know. I love it.
Hi, I'm Charlie, and I play Vander Finnick. Vander has plenty of war stories. In fact, he has the best war stories. But eventually, he stopped telling them because it annoyed him that at the end of all of his tales, everyone had the same question, which was what side he'd been on. That's it. Short, sharp facts.
One question. Great. What side were you on?
Both, or neither. It depends which story you're looking at.
His own side.
Exactly. You never lose a war out if you pick a side. If you don't pick a side. I don't know.
All wars are between the good guys and the bad guys, Chuck.
I think situational ethics is a great thing.
Exactly. Moral relativism. It's key.
Hi, I'm Harry, and I play Tock, an imposing 6'8" automaton. Tock is currently rather perplexed. He's a big fan of Bardol, the people's champion and pit fighter, a perplexing human custom. But now he knows of another pit fighter, the gnome, known as Anne, who is apparently the best pit fighter in the world, according to Bardol's rival.
That's it. Short, sharp facts. Is that offending your sense of lists in the sense that these two things are now... Does that just create some kind of bit flip?
There's clearly list conflict between the two fighters.
Oh, nothing worse than list conflict. I hate
well, we're about to sort it out. We're about to end that conflict. Very definitively, I think.
Hold on, Tock. Stay on your blue screen. We're going to deal with this.
Suddenly, Tock can empathise with the humans and their conflicts over meaningless things. Clearly, it's about lists.
Well, if these two fighters end up on 1 hit point each and then a gnome comes in, bangs their heads together and they both die, we shall name her Anne.
Hello, I'm Dave and I play Bennie. Fighting the abominable Yeti has reminded Bennie of the times back in Middleton where he used to brag to his friends that he had had a skirmish with an owlbear in the forest outside of town. None of his friends really ever believed him, and they would be amazed to hear that now he has fought an abominable Yeti and a colossus and a giant squid and all sorts of things. And then he remembers that there isn't anyone to tell anymore.
Oh, I was loving that. And then really brought down hard at the end there.
You know the score by now. Discord for chatting, Patreon for supporting and benefits, official website dicecompanykpodcast.com for merchandise, links in the show notes and all across our incredible social media channels. And remember, you cannot make progress without making decisions. So let's turn the page to the next chapter of Dice Company. Previously on Dice Company. Blah, 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 blah. Bardol starts a fight. Roll initiative.
I apologise for this, chaps. Oh, what is the matter with me today?
Oh, a 4 for Vander.
A 17 for Tock.
A 9 for Bardol.
Sorry, and that's a 6 for Augustus on initiative. Hang on a second. Isn't this a duel? Why are we rolling initiative?
Well, he told us to roll initiative. I did think about that, is that Tock's now won the initiative, but doesn't know what to do.
I'm not joining in, but what turn?
Yeah.
All right, I hear that.
Hey, we don't know. He could have the Callus Justica in his bag.
That's Tock really got that first turn.
Okay, so we start with a surprise round for Bardol for cheap-shotting his opponent in a one-on-one duel.
Well, aren't I feeling like the silly sausage for attacking the dude? Bardol's not shown himself in glory lately, so let's see how this goes. I'm going to lightning lure. Basically, he just wants to kind of pull him back. Well, so it's a DC 14 saving throw.
20.
So a lash of lightning whips out around Alistair Lebec as Bardol attempts to stop him from leaving.
But he's able to escape the lightning lure.
Where are you running off to with your loot, old boy? No need to take it all. Sure you don't want to leave some? Nothing too powerful in there, I hope. I think that is it.
We go to the top of the round with Alistair Lebec.
That takes away my dilemma.
Alistair Lebec is going to step into combat with Bardol. He's going to use one of his Battlemaster maneuvers to do a bait and switch, to insult you into swapping places with him. So he adds 6 to his AC, then he's just going to attack. So he lines up his first attack, swinging his sword for a 26.
Whoa.
Yep.
Dealing 8 slashing damage. And his second attack is a 16.
No, misses.
Okay, so he slashes once, but Bardol is able to parry the second attack. Having then done that, Alistair looks to Ziggy and says, Ziggy, run for it! And he begins to move, drawing opportunity attacks from everyone except Bennie.
Oh my god, natural 1. Didn't I have advantage because of where Alex is?
Yes, you did. Go for it. Roll again.
21. 10 slashing damage.
Oof. Augustus.
Augustus definitely doesn't want to hurt this guy, but I can see the need to stop him. So Augustus is going to throw his heavy backpack under the guy's feet in an attempt to trip him up. In a narrow corridor, slinging a backpack feels like a good way to trip him.
If grappling is allowed, then Tick and Tock will probably try and assist in a grapple attempt.
Let's do that. That sounds fun. We'll do a grapple attempt. You'll do an opposed strength check, but you will get it at advantage. So the score you need to beat is 22.
Oh,
At advantage, 10. Our heart's not really in it.
Tock, you may have a reaction if you wish.
so Tock is going to just do a straight grapple
Okie
with his armor crackling blue.
Score to beat is 16.
Just not enough. 14.
So Tock's big arms come down and he ducks under them as well and moves on to pass Vander.
I am going to just make his flight more difficult by casting Elias' Hideous Laughter.
How's 14? So that's a fail. He fails. So as he tries to get past Vander, the warcaster just kind of leans out with a flicker of his hand and he just begins to laugh hysterically. And he falls to the ground, kind of rolling around in agony and ecstasy and despair, and the rest of you just hear the laughter kind of crackling along the walls of the corridor.
This situation is confusing, Vander.
Indeed, it does appear that he has fallen prone to a most strange condition.
Vander says as he turns in the direction of the prone fighter.
He isn't entirely harmless, though, so I suggest we continue this little...
I don't know what you call this.
Whatever
this little,
Assault.
Continue this little capture. There we go.
Ziggy hears the laughter and he looks suddenly very scared. I don't want any trouble. If you just let us leave, you can have all of the loot.
Yes. Leave what you have taken and take your master, and let him know that one day he shall meet me properly upon the field, and we shall settle this. Now take him and go. Leave the booty.
Okay. And he lets go of the big sack, and as he walks past you, Bardol, he just hands you a small piece of paper, which has his name and address on. If you're ever looking for a new ward, come find me.
Young man, my squire needs a squire, and I also need a ward. If you ever find yourself in River City, look me up. He will treat you true and sort you out. Detach yourself from this wretch of a thing. He's not worthy of your time, nor has anything for you to learn. One day you will stand at the feet of a master, and I will make you great. Now be off.
As you wish, Mr. Schultz. Oh, one last thing. Be careful of the corridor with the gargoyles. They nearly set fire to Alistair and reduced him to dust.
How did it happen?
I think it's pressure plates all along the corridor.
Thank you, young man. And he flicks him a gold coin.
He catches it, and he scoops up his hysterically laughing Alistair Lebec, and they leave the dungeon.
Marvellous work, Chuck. Saved me there. Sorry, I reacted purely on instinct there. I apologise, chaps. I showed my arse in public, and me and Bardol were one there momentarily. Sorry. Yeah.
He'd made it to Bennie. Bennie was just getting out of the way.
Would you like to look in the sack?
Most definitely.
You open up the sack, and inside you find a collection of gold artifacts, gemstones, gold coins. It's an enormous collection. If you were to eyeball it, you'd say there was likely 20,000 gold coins worth of booty in there.
Oh, marvellous.
Go back to that boat guy. We can really make Vander an admiral.
Yeah. Well, I'd share it out amongst the chaps. Is that 4,000 apiece?
4,000 apiece?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That was a really profitable mugging.
Well, I really didn't expect you guys to attack him, so I wanted to explain why you guys wouldn't get so much booty from going through the dungeon, but you've already got it, and you haven't really entered.
Yeah.
Well, I feel morally compromised about it, but fortunately, at least I'm not a paladin, so I don't have to worry.
Yep.
Augustus takes the money, but kind of appears as if he's pretending he hasn't noticed.
Vander also takes the money and mutters to himself,
I could have bought the whole wizard's outfit. An opportunity missed.
and stows it.
Bennie also takes the money, but looks disappointed in Bardol as he takes the money out of his hand and just shakes his head and goes, "People's champion."
Giving your share to charity then, Bennie,
says Vander with interest.
I am, in fact, Vander. Yes. It's a little foundation called the Bennie Quez Enrichment Fund. Designed to support local Bennie Quezes in the area who require additional funds.
But of course a wise investment, and quite in line with my own philosophies.
They do very good work. If you'd like to donate, we're always welcome.
It sounds like the foundation is already well funded. I have a similar philanthropy project.
Vander, if you would wish assistance in carrying the 36 kilograms of gold, my bag of holding is available.
Yes, please, Tock. And Augustus instantly decants this half-person weight of gold into the bag of holding.
Bardol stows his in his backpack.
That would change what happened then. Vander looks at the inordinate pile of gold he could never have lifted.
Yes. Why, thank you, Tock. Please stow this for later use.
You might as well keep it on the character sheet, but
yeah. Narratively, it makes sense not to have Vander crushed under the weight of wealth.
Vander dies under the amount of money.
I always love how people just forget that it has weight.
Yeah, it's the Scrooge McDuck problem. It's not a liquid.
Bennie's got a coin purse of holding, of course, so he's keeping it to himself.
I'm going to have a wardrobe of holding one day.
And Augustus nudges Vander and says, Vander, do you suppose there'll be any shops up ahead?
I see little opportunity for shopping, Augustus, but there may indeed be more booty.
And Augustus glances longingly back towards the door because it's the way out, because it's the first time in ages he's had silly amounts of wealth, but he reluctantly accepts it could get even sillier if he carries on.
Well, Vander's on the same wavelength as Augustus here. He likes a shop too.
Do not fear, Augustus. We will indeed go shopping after this venture, and I'm sure we'll both garb ourselves in fineries of all kinds.
Wonderful, Vander. Perhaps we can return to the Mama Strange retreat.
I'm not sure we're so welcome there anymore, but who knows? Money can indeed buy the most peculiar things.
Very good. And Augustus, leaving the horrors of what's just happened behind, skips off down the corridor looking for the next adventure.
What a paladin.
You have a choice to make. You can follow the path that Alistair Lebec just came from, or you can continue along the corridor that you were on originally.
Fiery gargoyle death or the mystery box.
Mystery box! Mystery box!
I'm up for a mystery box.
There's danger ahead or possible danger the other ahead. So let's go for the other
And
ahead.
we all know, if it's possible danger, Bennie goes first.
That's true. Doesn't look like a champagne reception. To the back, Augustus!
It's pressure plates at the gargoyles, right? And hopefully Bennie is a far better rogue than Bardol's been spending time with normally.
Actually, if it's pressure plates, I could Missy could go and check it out, couldn't she?
I was thinking pressure plates is really the end of Tock, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've got this, guys. Wallop.
Tock just doesn't break eye contact, but climbs into the bag of holding and just... But yeah, let's do some investigation.
Vander scoops up the bag of holding.
Bennie, Missy in front, 35 miles, us.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be as close to the front as I'm allowed to be without getting in Bennie's way.
Well, that's a new dynamic. Do you know how we run this? Bennie is the bait.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, like Bennie, but then me to defend Vander and other people.
Very much a forlorn hope.
Augustus turns to Vander and says, "Do you imagine Tock's bathing in money in there?"
Quite possibly, Augustus. He did seem to wish to get into the bag for no apparent reason.
And Augustus peeks into the bag, like through, I guess, it's like a drawstring at the top.
Yeah.
Like, can he see what Tick and Tock are actually doing?
Are you met with like a universe? Yeah.
What are they up to?
You hear a voice as you open the bag that says, "Gold is unreactive, Augustus. It does not possess cleaning properties."
Very well, Tock. As you were. Disappointed, Augustus carries on with his life.
So Missy zooms off down the corridor under the control of Bennie, and as she turns the first corner, you are presented with another option. So having reached this point, you have a corridor that runs at like a T-junction, and up here there is a statue that you can just about make out, and to the south there is a turning back on itself.
Vander adjusts his wizard's hat and begins to look imperiously from one direction to the next. It's not clear, but I think he's trying to appear wizardly to the rest of the group.
Bardol standing behind, just waiting for Mustang to tell us where we're going. He seems to look like he knows what he's doing.
If in doubt, follow your nose.
Couldn't resist, sorry. And Vander taps his misshapen nose and heads north towards the statue.
Do we want to kind of keep an eye out for any kind of traps and floor stuff?
Floor stuff.
Is that a Bennie thing, or I'm happy to do it? I've had a horrible experience with traps.
Someone give me a perception or an investigation check, please. One person, and decide amongst yourself before you don't all start rolling.
I'll give it a go because I'm being all wizardly. You want a perception
or investigation? Your choice.
15. Come on, Wizard Vander.
The first thing you notice as you approach the statue is the familiar face of Seraphina. It is a statue of Seraphina.
Not wholly unsurprising,
says Vander, looking up at the statue.
She is a most celebrated figure among our sort. I wonder, though, these things often come with a few little additions.
And Vander wants to check if there are any further signs of there being either magic or a trap or something else here.
Give me a perception check.
8.
As far as you can tell, this is just a statue revering a member of the Rojan Council. However, your previous investigation does note that here, to the right of the statue as you look at it, is an uneven stone tile, which looks to you to be a pressure plate of a trap.
Could we walk around the tile?
You can.
Vander points his stick in the direction of the uneven tile.
Gentlemen, I sense some skullduggery on the floor just there. I suggest we move around it carefully to not attract unwanted mishaps.
From the bag of holding, you immediately hear a voice saying, "Vander, caution. There may be other pressure plates. It may be wise to test the pressure plates."
Of course.
And Vander looks to his shoulder.
Bellerophon, your time to shine has arrived.
With a defiant lick, Bellerophon climbs down from Vander's shoulder and begins to scuttle madly across the corridor, making sure he puts his sucker paws on each of the pads, except for the one, of course, that would trigger the trap. He's going to go on like a little minesweeper.
He moves 15 feet to the east to this square, and as he steps on the square, you hear a click and a huge blade swings from one side of the corridor to the other, slicing him clean in half.
Oh, fuck.
Why is it always fucking blade?
You see a little periscope, Vander, sticking up out of the bag of holding. It is good that was not Bennie.
Couldn't agree more.
Agreed.
Indeed.
Jenny backs away nervously, thinking that it seems like they want to send the animals to their deaths.
Bellerophon is truly a lizard without fear. Well, that solves that little conundrum.
Can Bardol do a perception check along that? Can he have a look down that corridor to see if he can discern any other noticeable pressure pads?
The problem you've got is that you don't have dark vision, so your field of view is actually quite limited.
I have light.
Which is only 20 feet, I think.
I can send the drift globe down the corridor.
There you go.
Ooh, hello. Hello.
Bardol has cast light on his chest plate.
So everyone can see us. Bardol's chucked on his high-vis jacket. Why is there a lollipop man coming through a dungeon?
Augustus sends the drift globe down the corridor and Bardol checks the area for traps. Bardol, give me a investigation or perception check, your choice.
Oh, okay, 24.
I love that finally, like, a trap turns up and it's classic dungeoneering, and our thief is like, nah, fuck it, I'm gonna stay at the back.
You keep jumping in.
Bennie could solve this problem in 5 seconds if us bunch of dicks stop fucking around.
Literally a specialty.
Bardol, your incredible perception allows you to see that there are intermittent traps at the same distance but on opposite sides of the corridor.
So we can just pick our way between them.
So it's walk 3 tiles, jump 1.
Or sidestep. Sidestep is fine.
Or just go round it.
Introduce some risks.
Please do that. Please do.
No.
15 feet and then jump.
Knowing what Bardol has, so Bardol has now identified where the traps are. He's going to, gentlemen, do follow me. And he is going to walk down the corridor, avoiding all of the traps that he's noticed, leading the boys on a path down the corridor.
Bonus marks for Vander, who is actually moving along the corridor as requested.
I can weave, baby.
Oh, so is Augustus.
And Augustus, who just crossed the trap.
No, I move my piece around, but I guess it only shows you where I drop it.
So you have reached another T-junction with the option to go north or to go east. Something to note about both directions is both hallways are brightly lit by flickering tallow candles that float in shallow niches along the walls. The candles produce heat, but no smoke. Vander, your passive perception shows you that these two particular corridors are oddly clean.
Bennie, be careful. These corridors may not accept your presence. I notice that they are self-cleaning in some fashion.
What are you on about, Vander? I'm comfortably the cleanest in this party. Look at me. And you see my dazzlingly clean robes, which somehow remain unsplattered by mud despite all our days on the road. Quite the contrast, I have to say, to Augustus there, who's not at his best.
Oh, snap.
Yes, indeed, you are deceptively clean, Bennie. It is strange that I still can't quite envision this as the case. Nevertheless, there is something amiss with these corridors, and as our resident burglar, I would be obliged if you would lead the way.
Is there headspace here for Augustus to climb up onto Jenny?
I assumed he was on Jenny. Is he not on Jenny?
Oh, in disdain at Bennie, he wants to ascend to a higher level. He wants to, did I say ascend? Ascend to a higher level. So he can look down scornfully at Bennie and his pithy remarks, which he'll be replying to in due course.
You know that's not an actual high horse, don't you, Augustus?
Infinitely better, my dear fellow.
Bardol chuckles to himself.
I think that's round 1 to Bennie there.
Anyway, I reckon I can spot something up to north there, so I'll just send Missy to have a quick look. I say, and Missy goes, what's this?
Missy swoops 20 feet forward, and on the left-hand side you see 2 stone doors. They appear to be closed.
Got ourselves some closed doors up ahead.
Intriguing.
If only Lebec was behind them to tell us to go away. Alas. What do you reckon? Head that way? No sign of traps.
Then let us proceed, Bennie.
And Vander's hand comes out in a gesture of, why don't you go first?
At which point, Bennie remembers he's not checked for any traps. So I'd like to do a quick check.
Cool. Give me a perception check, please. Or investigation.
He says too late. Can I add my investigation modifier to that?
Yeah, go on.
That is a 16.
This corridor appears to be free of traps. The only things in it are the candles and the strange cleanliness. Cleanliness is the strange cleanliness.
I walk up and stand before the stone doors, my arms crossed, surveying them like a builder. Are there any kind of notes of interest regarding the doors?
They're made of stone, they're heavy, they're well crafted. They have handles on them as normal doors. They don't appear to be locked either. You can actually see in the gap between the 2 stone doors into the next room, which appears to be just an empty, plain room. with nothing of note in it.
Augustus, who took the appearance of Lebec as a rebuke about not opening doors, just gets Jenny to nose the door open.
Bennie takes a step back at this.
Vander continues to watch Bennie just in case he's sizzling in the clean.
As Jenny noses the door, they swing open. You are met with a plain-looking room. To the north of the room, there is a large crack in the wall that goes from the top of the ceiling all the way down and actually cracks into the floor slightly. Through the crack, you can hear loud, rushing water sounds. And there is also a door to the west. And there appears to be a small gap also to the north, which leads to a very thin, cavernous corridor. That one doesn't look like it's been man-made. It looks like it's been, during the destruction, a gap has been created.
I think I'm going to walk up to this gap and just say, Missy, have a look at this, would you?
As Missy flies into the gap, she suddenly disappears from your very eyes. Bennie, as you're looking through her eyes, she appears to have appeared in a very plush-looking study room filled with books that are all turned over, and there is a large set of doors which have golden chains crossing it, which are locking it.
And does she come back?
Flies back in the same direction she came, and as she turns around, you see that there is a stone archway with a flickering green light. She goes through the archway, and it brings her back in front of you.
Well, that was odd.
What was odd, Bennie?
Well, I inhabited Missy and went down this rocky cavern. Sort of popped through something, I don't know, a portal, for lack of a better word. Ended up in some sort of fancy study or library. They were all mahogany and leather. Not the kind of thing you expect to find at the end of a rocky corridor.
A rift of sorts, how fascinating,
says Vander, shambling up. As Vander steps closer, he sees markings he recognizes and exclaims,
"Ah, a transportation archway. Few of these yet remain after the Rojans fell, but it appears this one still operates. These were used by my people to move from one location to another. Not easy magic, though, so one would assume this takes us to a place of great importance. It seems to me we should indeed take this route and see what is on the other side."
Unless we're already in the place of great importance, as was.
Well, what did it look like, Bennie, when you saw it through Missy's eyes? Was there anything of any interest that you saw?
It looked like a library or a study of some sort. Probably worth going, but I don't think we'll fit through that crack, will we?
There is just enough room for you to squeeze one at a time through the gap.
Is it camel-friendly?
It is not.
I'm willing to venture forth if anyone else is, or happy to go alone if you'd rather send me just merely for reconnaissance.
No, I too am intrigued,
says Vander, looking like he wants to go through.
Well then, Mustang, shall I go first?
Be my guest, Bardol.
Marvellous. And Bardol immediately heads for said crack, jumping headfirst into what is his favourite transportation of recent times, the portal.
Augustus communicates with Jenny, telling her to stay here, sit down, keep watch, and he'll be back soon. And he follows Bardol.
I glance at Jenny, and I'm like, well, I'm not stopping here with you, am I? And follow everyone through into the room.
So you guys, each one at a time, creep through the gap and appear in a rich and sumptuous-looking library study room. It's enormous. The walls are covered in books. To the south, there is a large set of double doors made out of solid gold. They have two thick chains crossed across it with a kind of thick padlock in the middle, which looks arcane in nature. You have stepped through a stone archway which is crackling with green energy, a portal which has transported you don't know how far. As you look around, you notice that there is also a door to the west which is open, and as you look down the corridor, you can see lining both sides are stone gargoyles.
Sorry, did you just say solid gold doors?
Yeah.
Let's steal those.
Are we looking for a big gold key?
They're probably just yellow.
They're probably just, they're actually plastic and yellow.
Oh, is it just yellow? Oh, okay. I often get those so wrong.
It's so valuable.
Augustus is just going to go walk up, not right up to the doors, but close-ish to the doors. He's just going to use his divine sense to see whether he gets a strong sense of good or evil from these, because this feels like a threshold to something important. Ooh. Augustus turns back to the group. Gentlemen, there's I can sense a consecrated item in this room, but perhaps more important, as we consider these doors, the area beyond them has been desecrated. Some act of evil has taken place in there.
I wonder where we are. Are there any windows?
Is someone ill?
There are no windows.
And so what was in this room other than the doors and the portal to the south?
Shelves and shelves of books, lots of parchments scattered around, various trinkets, artifacts, items. It is jam-packed, full of unusual, magical, interesting items.
Okay, Tock gets out the bag, starts cataloguing.
Can Bardol begin looking for any tomes that he think may be of interest to the halfling?
I mean, throw a stone. The entire room is filled with incredibly valuable tomes.
Oh, well, then in which case he's just going to start, like, hobo thieving everything. just whatever, every single book, he'll just start stuffing into his backpack until it's full.
Vander throws up a hand.
Gentlemen, wait!
And he looks around in awe.
I believe we are in one of the most hallowed, sacred, and ultimately forbidden locations of the Rojan. The books on the walls you see around you contain the myriad secrets of our order. In this room, great knowledge resides, the answers to many of our questions, and most certainly artifacts of great power. I suggest we tread lightly in this most extraordinary place and take full opportunity to unveil its various secrets.
Tock appears awestruck by what you're saying.
Vander then turns to Bennie.
Bennie, I know you have questions. Questions about who you are, where your powers come from. I too have questions. Questions about our connection, about pieces of the Rojan's history which were never fully explained. Dark secrets. The great story of this place may reside in these pages. Do you see the opportunity that sits before us? Bennie!
Vander says, shaking Bennie.
The Majesty!
Do I want to know, though, Vander? Do I want to know?
A good question. But a path placed so directly in front of you is surely one you must explore. Consider this. You will never have this opportunity ever again, I suspect, nor will any of us. It appears that Tock understands the magnitude and the gravity of the situation, do you not, Tock?
Indeed, Vander. This is the most concentrated area of knowledge within the world.
Yes,
says Vander, feeling an alliance there. Someone who understands the gravity of the situation.
Do you see, Bennie? Do you see what's in front of us?
I'd spent so long and I'd exerted such a lot of effort to try and start to piece together these secrets. Try and find out who I was, who my family are, where I sit, where I might fit in Rojan and in the tradition. And it made everything so complicated. And it didn't help anything at all. And people were just keeping secrets from me. And people were just using information to pull me this way and that. And I just decided, Vander, I just decided to let it all go. And now there's this. And how am I meant to let it all go when there's these gestures around, all these shelves, all this kind of knowledge that he would have killed for? How am I meant to let it go now when there's all this?
It appears that whether you chose to let it go is now a moot point, because it has held on to you, Bennie, as so many events have held on to you over these past months. Do you think it is a coincidence that all of this has taken place? That you stand now in this room with this opportunity? I've no doubt you'll find good and evil in these pages. And equally, I have no doubt that your father's name is written here too?
Vander, Bennie and I come from different perspectives here. I've always been told that I have a great destiny, that I'm important. And perhaps Bennie has been told or interpreted the opposite. But what both those stories ignore, and perhaps you are overlooking at this moment, is the ability of each person to choose.
You speak of choice, Augustus, and I agree with you. There is choice. We could choose to read the books and the knowledge here, or we could leave it behind. But do you not want to know? The Rojans didn't look backwards, they looked forwards. There'll be secrets here not just of the past, but likely of what is to come. Think of the challenges before us. Think of what we must achieve in order to take down the Empire. Knowledge is a burden, but it also is the key to the ultimate successes that we must achieve.
So Bennie sort of turns on Vander and says, "You've got very pro-Rojan all of a sudden. Now it's all us and we. We the Rojan did this. This is the most hallowed place for us. This is not how you've been talking."
I have always worshipped at the altar of usefulness, Bennie. I am not enamored with the Rojan. I do not believe that they were all heroes, unblemished by the reality of the deeds we must indeed undertake. I want to find out the full story, understand where they really came from, and what they really intended to do. It's here, now, for us and us alone.
And Vander begins to look around the shelves. He sees the many names on the books, each sparking a different question in Vander's mind. The many secrets he can uncover, the stories he was always keen to understand but was never fully explained to him. And his eyes land on a particular tome. What would catch Vander's eyes, dear?
The Adventures of Rupert the Bear.
It is all curveballs for the DM tonight, isn't it?
Fuck you! I was building to something.
Vander, as you look around the room, your eyes are drawn to the diary of Valak's Storm.
Vander approaches the book and picks up the of all the amazing things in this study, this is the book that caught his eye the most. Because in it, he suspects, are so many of the secrets, the stories that relate to every member of the group in some fashion. He begins leafing through the pages. There's not time to read it all, but I'm looking for particular segments, notes of things that might tell me about Bennie, about Vander, about our connection, anything like that.
Give me an investigation check.
That's a 22. I ingest the book. I take it back. I read everything immediately. I simulate it all.
The book is written in a language that you can't initially comprehend. However, there are plenty of blueprints and sketches and rough ideas in there to do with a ceremony in order to bring people back from the dead permanently and to ascend to godhood in order to do so. There is also a description of an event that you know is the Storm's Fall Ribbon. A quick scan and study of the book tells you that the Rojan, as a subsect of magic users, were created in the aftermath of that, and each Rojan has energy from the Storm's Fall Ribbon within them, the Storm's Fall Ribbon itself being innately evil. Thus, all Rojan gain their power through evil means.
Vander's eye lights up in a way that it has never done before as he reads those lines, and a tension relieves from his shoulders, like some great truth he's been searching for all this time has finally been unveiled in front of him. Looking at the line and the lines he can't read beneath them, he closes the book and places it in one of his many cloak pockets. He whispers to himself, "It is as I thought."
Bennie looks around and the library brings back memories of Middleton and the books that he stole from Leith, and he feels very conflicted. How can I don't think I can be here and not read, not take all this knowledge that's here, but I don't think we should check out. I think we should read our fill and then just leave everything behind.
Vander straightens, having placed the book in his pocket, hoping that it hasn't been too obvious that he's been fascinated by what was in the pages, and shambles towards Bennie. Hearing his words, Vander looks directly at Bennie.
I understand your conflict, Bennie, and why you may feel that this place is not something that can be plundered. But consider this. The Rojan are gone. The last remaining members who have any claim to this knowledge stand in this room. You are the inheritor, the rightful inheritor of this knowledge. It is yours. Yours to take. Yours to use. Yours to change the world as you see fit now. That is the truest and most consistent thing the generations of Rojans have done all the way back to the beginning.
And Bennie looks just a bit helpless and suddenly looks very, very young and just says, I don't know. Do what you think?
Maybe we might consider borrowing just a few books from this library with the intention of returning them. And returning it to its former, perhaps not glory. Glory was the mistake everyone made. But throwing it open so its knowledge can be shared.
A fine idea, Augustus. I am not against your proposition, though of course I would like to learn the secrets of this place before we leave, and of course use them so that we may ultimately return victorious, to do as you say, with some light reductions. Only tastefully done, of course. Some things are not for public consumption.
Vander, make your redactions, but do not forget the mistake you yourself have accused the Rojan of making, which is to think themselves wiser, and to think that they had a unique claim to particular kinds of knowledge. Perhaps some knowledge should be destroyed or forgotten, but for the rest I think we should be open-minded about what others and future generations may want or need to know.
Augustus, you cut me. I am nothing if not open-minded. I will, of course, redact only things I deem to be uncouth, or not in the best interests of our librarian visitors to know.
Well, with you sounding rather like the Emperor himself, perhaps we should move on.
Did I mention that I need emergency powers? Apologies.
Uncouth.
Vander coughs.
So you guys are surrounded by all of the goodies held by the Rojan for so long. I think it's probably time for you to do an investigation check to see what you find.
I think, guys, we put our rings together.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to do the greatest investigation check of all time. This is it. We can short-circuit the DM here and learn everything.
Yeah, and Augustus will assist by wheeling round one of those funny ladders that they have on giant bookcases in like Beauty and the Beast. So we can check the top shelves as well as the low-down stuff, because that's where they keep the good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, that's great. It might also be inaccessible to Vander.
You are guided.
Okay, can I roll
have you got
advantage?
guidance now, Augustus?
No, I was just being a dick.
Okay, because actually we are guided because of Tock's intimate knowledge of from talking to the Obsidian Matrix. He now knows several of the titles he's looking for.
So with the party rolling together, Tock, please roll me an investigation check at advantage and guide yourself. And I don't want to jinx anything,
But the whole campaign rolls on this.
but if ever you wanted to roll high, now is the time to roll high.
Oh, man.
Hang on. Can I?
I'm weirdly excited. What's going to happen?
Okay.
Launch.
Right.
Good luck.
Okay, and a D4. And a D4. Okay, that's a roll of 30.
Give us everything.
Boom.
My table goes up to 30.
Yes!
Get your notepads ready. This is what you find. Okay, first off, you find 5 Mage Fire arrows. These are one-use only magical arrows. They deal an extra 1d6 fire damage and set fire to things.
Bennie?
You find the Cloak of Many Fashions. This can be used to turn any clothes into any other clothes of any colour, shape, and quality.
That's definitely a Tock one, isn't it?
What the hell?
You find an Arcane Grimoire +1. This adds 1 to your spellcasting ability and increases your arcane recovery slots by 1 also. You find blueprints for the Staff of the Magi.
Oh my god.
And in order to make it, Tock, as you look at the blueprint, you need 1 tree's worth of Jarima wood, a red crystal of the Dragon Spine Mountains, and an adult red dragon tooth.
To Costco.
Spire.
It's their version of Himalayan rock salt. It's fine. It's really easy.
Do you reckon there is an aisle in Costco for this? You know, we just never went there because we've never needed those. But if you ask, they go, "Oh yeah, red dragon's tooth."
Yeah, I've been there.
It's like the middle. It's like the middle of Lidl. You just get everything that you need right there.
You find a golden lamp, which Augustus you recognise to be the consecrated item.
Oh, wow.
You find a scroll of raised dead. You find a guardian's emblem with the sigil of Tyr on it. This replaces a holy symbol, attaches to heavy armour, and allows you to negate a critical hit on yourself or someone you see within 30 feet of you once per day.
Augustus sees the symbol of Tyr and starts elbowing his way past everyone because surely no one's going to try and get that.
Yeah, that's yours. Clearly, that one.
You find an all-purpose tool. Which is
okay.
which is a +1 all-purpose tool.
Okay, Tock is going to be very excited about that.
You find a scroll of cloud kill. You find 5 thunderclap arrows. These are also one-use arrows, and every creature in 10 feet of the target you shoot must make a DC 15 con save or take 2d8 thunder damage and be pushed back 15 feet.
Wow.
You also find the Warden's Armour. This is light studded armour +1. It has 6 pockets, each of which can hold 20 pounds, plus 2 straps which can draw and sheath a weapon for you automatically. And finally, having searched through everything in the entirety of the study, you find a complete collection of the books of Elias the Wanderer. They are on one shelf, and there is a gap between each book where a identical tome used to sit but no longer does. Behind a collection of books, you also find the previously thought forgotten 11th book of Elias the Wanderer, the Sevacon. A quick study of the book tells you that you now have access to any one spell for a one-time, one-use only. So you can use the Sevacon to cast any spell you want without a check at any point you want.
Wow.
Damn.
And just so that you're aware, you weren't supposed to get to this room for like 3 quests. There were so many enemies you had to fight through to get to this point and all these goodies.
Oh, crap. Did anybody put down notes of what the Sevacon did other than that? Because, I mean, obviously it's out of character, but it was in the last campaign as well, wasn't it?
Yep, so the subtitle of it is On That Which Lies Above and Beneath.
So, gentlemen, many treasures here, and many deserving recipients. I suggest we divide these heroic gifts among our party.
While Bardol is kind of like wandering around looking at his foot knocks, the lamp that you mentioned on, which we all seem to have forgotten about.
Aladdin's
No,
lamp.
we're waiting to assign.
No one has forgotten about that.
Okay, well, I just doubled back.
Yeah. When you
So
say on
Bardol's
the
gonna pick
floor, Tock is carrying most of this stuff that he's just managed to find in the room.
Oh, okay. is the lamp amongst them?
So back with the group of everyone, Tock will, I think we'll collectively put all of the items between everyone so they can see it to distribute it.
Well, I think we should do something with that lamp, quite frankly. Certainly at least look at it or investigate it or something, but...
You can give me an investigation check or investigation check.
Okay, yeah, Bardol's eye is drawn by the lamp, so he picks it up. Investigation, here we go. Continuing with glory, 9.
This looks like a really plain lamp. Really plain. Nothing special about it at all.
Fool of a
In
Tock.
an attempt to see if there's anything else on it, Bardol rubs it with his sleeve in the cliched, oh, what's that there kind of. Am I not seeing that enough? Just in case.
And you hear a
Magic genie, magic genie, magic
as
genie, magic
something
genie.
spins out of the snout end of it, spinning up into the air, and with a pop, you see a tiny, swirling air elemental.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Stormlord. Hello.
Stormlord? No, I'm an air elemental.
And it begins flying around the top of the room.
Oh, it's good to be free.
He sounds just like your Lionel character.
So we just
A pleasure to meet you, air elemental. Were you trapped in there?
I was put in there for safekeeping, but I'm out. How long has it been?
I do not know. Not long.
Oh,
Can't go back in.
this place looks worse than it did last time. Would you like me to return to the lamp?
What can you tell me before you do? What can you tell me about this place?
This is the ancient study of the Rojan. The Dawn Rider, leader of the council, put me in the lamp for safekeeping.
And
query. Why did she put you in the lamp? What safekeeping?
I can't remember now. Maybe they were under attack.
what are you for?
What was that, sorry?
What are you for, dear boy? What is your purpose?
I'm an expert at picking locks.
Fascinating. Bardol turns to just to the sides to the chaps and says, maybe he can get us through that big old golden chain door over there, eh? And then he kind of looks back at the air elemental, just smiling casually as if he hasn't really said anything.
And what little face this small elemental has kind of creeps up into a really creepy looking smile back.
Friendly? I quite agree, Bardol. I also think that it would be worth employing the services of our new friend for our airship when we leave this place, preferably alive.
A fine idea, Mustang. Friendly air elemental. I am Bardol Schultz. This is the Order of the Heron. Would you be so kind as to go back into the lamp for a moment?
Okay. Most pliable.
Vander, I hand this to you.
Why, thank you, Bardol. And Vander looks back down at the collection of things. Bennie, I see sets of rare arrows here. Perhaps these are best in your hands. And he passes you mage fire arrows and thunderclap arrows.
I mean, Benny's being a bit of a martyr, but he's not going to say much of those, is he?
No.
I wouldn't.
A rather interesting tool, which I do not fully understand. Maybe you can make some use of this.
Indeed, Vander, you have my thanks. So looking at the tool, is this something that Tock would recognise as possibly belonging to Engram?
Do you speak Draconic, Tock?
Yes.
Of course he does.
It's inscribed in Draconic. Is engram.
Ah, wonderful. Tock will treat it sort of with reverence and attach it to his belt.
So you guys can have a short rest, and that will allow you to dish out all of the goodies to the relevant people.
Bardol takes nothing.
Augustus feels a bit sad and sidles up to Bardol and goes, Bardol, would you like this fine cloak?
No, very, very kind of you, Augustus. No, I think that would suit you better than me. I'm very happy with my very fine duster.
Very well. And Augustus sweeps the cloak around his shoulders and it instantly looks fucking magnificent.
Would you like to describe what he's wearing for us, please?
He is in a midnight blue suit with a cloak scattered with stars.
Oh, that is nice.
Top hat?
Of course, the top hat. The top hat now is also midnight blue.
Mwah!
You are an image, Augustus, says Vander, looking at the finery and feeling the immense urge to steal it.
Why, thank you, Vander. If we're to conquer this dungeon, I would like to do it in style.
Whilst everyone's discussing stuff, Tock will talk to Bardol whilst he is gathering up these books. Bardol, you did not receive any items of power.
No, that's quite all right, old boy. I have my wonderful day song and my fine duster. I'm a happy man, really. I seem to be finding money hand over fist as well, so I'm fine. Not always here for personal gain, Tock, but it's sweet of you to inquire.
There is a possible item that I may construct for you, Bardol.
Really? What is that?
It is not an item of much power, but it may be of use. So Tock will start describing basically like a set of swords that essentially have some degree of illusion magic over them, so they will not do any damage at all, but will look like real swords.
Awesome. Thank you, Tock. That would be a mighty gift. Thank you very much.
These swords will take some time to construct. Your assistance in the research and construction would be appreciated, Bardol.
Of course, I'd be happy to help.
I would find that to be acceptable.
So, if I am right, Augustus, through that door lies probable death, and a hammer we also need as badly as life itself. But that still leaves another question.
Vander scans the books. I'm looking for a history of the Rojans.
Give me an investigation check.
Kind of Whom's Who Rojan edition.
Yeah, Tock will assist.
So that's investigation at advantage.
If Augustus gets his hand on this book, he's going to scan it and go, Quez? Why is there no Quez, Bennie?
Oh, well, I've just rolled randomly, but hit a 25 anyway.
Vander, as you flick through the various tomes relating to the history of the Rojan, you find many references to a number of members of the Council of Rojan, most notably the members known as Lionheart and the Celestial Hammer. The Celestial Hammer was an Aasimar woman, and the Lionheart was a human man. There are plenty of references to them being together, being married, and having a child. That child was then taken during the war to Middleton and handed to the orphanage where Bennie was raised. Their actual names are Clara Vanderkilt and Lucian Benjamin Winter.
Vander turns to Bennie, obviously not knowing that Bennie knows that,
I believe this book would be of interest to you, Bennie.
and passes it over to him, feeling like he's connected two of the celestial dots in Bennie's past.
Bennie decides to take it, but put it in his satchel without reading it.
You do not wish to know your parentage?
I don't know if I need to see it written down, and I already know.
You knew all this time. Fascinating. It appears then, Bennie, we are connected. Even more than I thought. The same war changed both our lives.
Query, Vander. Bennie's parents are of significance?
They are two of the more prominent Rojan ever to have come from the Order, Tock. Which means Bennie here is not only a most useful individual, but fated as far as our Order is concerned.
Query, Vander. Which Rojan?
His father was the Lionheart, his mother the Celestial Hammer.
I suggest we find Clara, the Celestial Hammer, as our next priority, Vander, once the Sterling has been repaired and an air elemental installed.
Avaros tells me she's long dead, Tock.
But if today stands for anything, surely it is that the most improbable is nevertheless possible.
Vander thinks about what he learned in the pub and how it may connect to Bennie.
Bennie, it might be best we had a little conversation when we are in a less dangerous location. For now, though, I suggest we turn our attentions to the next room, and the item I believe lies within.
Augustus sort of turns towards the golden doors and puts his hand on the hilt of the greatsword to draw it, and then he thinks better of it and draws amber and gets out his shield, and he turns to the others and says, I sense great evil through this door. We have walked a long road to this point, and it does not end here. We're not always united, but now we must stand together and face whatever lies beyond. Follow me now, my friends, and let us cast down this evil and allow this place, and perhaps this land, to heal. Then he says some more stuff about mongooses, and thus is an inspiring leader. And everyone gets 10 temporary hit points because it's my level plus my charisma modifier.
Ah, how many of us?
Very nice.
Up to 6, so that is everybody.
Awesome.
Everyone please add 10 temporary hit points after Augustus's inspiring speech.
Augustus, if you wish to ride Tick into combat, that would be acceptable.
Thank you, Tock. I shall decline your kind offer, but if things go awry, I shall certainly ride Tick out of combat.
Well then, gentlemen, Vander says, it appears that the time has arrived.
And Vander steps up to the door and next to Augustus.
I'm with you, Augustus. I believe it's time to end this.
Vander casts maid armor and at the same moment removes his mask, revealing a broken face and one blue gleaming eye. His other hand draws his flintlock from his cape and clicks it into place.
Augustus is front and centre in the battle line, sword and shield raised, ready to go.
Bardol draws his swords.
So Tock and Tick check their weapons and ready their airlocks.
Bennie mutters grandstanding and hides around a corner.
Vander stares at the door, pulls the air elemental from another pocket, and says,
Open.
The air elemental bursts from the lamp, swirling overhead before darting straight for the arcane lock. Seconds later, there's a click as the chains fall away and the golden doors open. As the air elemental returns to the lamp, you see before you an enormous room with a shattered back wall. In front of that is the blackened arcane tear in the fabric of reality, pulsing with energy. Your minds are filled with whispers of your past. And knelt before the tear, Augustus, is the broken and scarred form of Korith. He stands as you enter. In his right hand is a hammer, crackling with golden power. He turns towards you, his face heavily scarred. Augustus Zeno, you have arrived precisely when he said you would. Thank you for your help. I know exactly who I am now. And in his other hand, he raises and slips on a blackened mask with a white skull roughly painted on it. He shakes the now empty hand and a red flaming blade ignites. Morrison lives. And we will end it there.
Motherfucker.
Called it!
You've been listening to Dice Company's Small Embers, starring Dave Windust as Bennie Quez, Alex Morrison as Augustus Zeno, Charlie Blackadder as Vander Finnick, Scott Parker as the greatest swordsman who has ever lived, Bardol Schultz, and Harry King as Tock, with Tom Patrick as your dungeon master.
The humans of Dice Company would like to thank the following sweethearts for their support. Marshall 001, Marky B, Darcy Thompson, Jenny the War Camel, Stephen Sakura, Nori Gosler, Mickey Arnold, Happy Daddy Scotty, Tika, SJ Phionics, Richard Ungamus, Rabbi Camel, Team Vander, Paris Pakar, Path Pursuit, Julia Zeno, Shovels, Mama Strange, Queenie, Liz Beckett, Axel Runholm, and Chris from North London.
Okay, how do people want to start? Do they want to start with the intro or do they want to start with the pre-intro bit?
Let's do it the other way. Let's start with the... Oh, no, I don't know. No, I don't know. I'm backing out.
Start with the outro.
No, I honestly felt like crippling indecision, and I've got to get out of this situation.
Such confidence for like 3 seconds.
I started confident.
Yeah. We cannot let loot leave.
Fair enough. Give me 2 seconds. You know what? That's where we're gonna cut it to go into the intro, and we'll come back with the fight to give you time to build Alistair Lebec.
Sorry, I feel like Don was baiting me there. I felt like every little jab was a bait to get me to attack him. He's got loot, he's got legs, he's trying to take laurels. This guy, he's fucked. You know,
You take offence to people with legs?
Blue legs and laurels.
Look at him running away, flaunting his legs.
And two, I don't know what Lebec was doing, but Vander was definitely baiting you.
oh yeah, good.
One final question. Is it that the library is totally survivable, but the reason no one's ever got out is this happens every single time? Just a load of
Very
dead
possible.
heroes.
Very, very possible.
The library is actually just a library. Just some books.
It just attracts prideful swordsmen.
Hello, I'm Dave and I play Bennie. Fighting the abominable Yeti has reminded Bennie of the times back in... Shit, where's he from? Middleton. Bloody hell.
Please include that.
I've got a fan theory about what just happened. So, Dave/Bennie forgot where Bennie was from, and I think Dave inhabits his character so deeply that he couldn't possibly forget that. So I no longer believe Bennie is from Middleton.
You're incepting Dave, are you?
Yes. He's incepting himself. Like when you talk to Bennie, you don't see nice Dave, you see, snarky Bennie. He's going to sneak attack you.
He looks bulky. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, he looks less weedy than described.
Hey,
but,
guess what? I didn't have a token ready for the butler of the guy who I thought was going to be in the show for 4 minutes.
Sorry about what?
Slapdash DM.
I will kill you all.
I do believe that.
Yeah. I mean,
Then he spits on the floor.
We're going to take a 5-minute break there. I fucking forgot about Missy, and I never thought you'd take this route. You absolute... I hate you all. You've just... You know what? Whatever.
Oh,
Well done, I guess. Well done.
you absolute...
The thing that Bennie feels worst about is he nicked all the books and got caught nicking them. So, stealing from a library is a bit of a... slightly triggering.
Ah, my ear popped. I sense we're deep underground.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
should have action surged on Lebec.
Don't worry. I think action surge is next up on the list.
I just never use it. I'm always holding back with an action surge. I should just let it off every time. How do you feel, Charlie, about knowing that the Celestial Hammer is dead, and having been in the mind of Colorado Johnson, that he slew an Asimar woman? Do you think it possible that it were Colorado Johnson that slew Bennie's mum?
Oh, Vander would consider that, certainly.
What I'm driving at is, you should have kept the teeth.
Gentlemen, we must return to the pub.
Has everyone done all of the healing that they need to do? Basically.
Emotionally.
Yeah.
No, I care about your emotions. I think I've said that before.
Hey.
Your emotions are just a plaything for me.
Oh, I thought you said you did care about that. No. Just Vander just take off his mask for the first time since Sanctuary in front of us.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I'll save that for later.
Lore.
Thanks for listening. Please consider supporting Dice Company on Patreon, where for the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to a whole other show, Extra Roll, as well as an ad-free listening experience. The Dice Company Discord server, along with our socials, can be found on our Linktree in the show notes. If you enjoyed this chapter, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to recommend us to your friends. If you didn't like it, recommend us to your enemies. And we'll see you next time on Dice Company.